History is full of moments bordering on the plague of killing and human inequality. In the course of history, there have been 5 violent and cruel disasters that have drastically changed the fate of the world. These events have not only taken many lives, but also messed up the spirit and soul of the societies. Together we will examine these 5 historical disasters, and maybe we can get a better understanding of their effects on human society. The first and most important thing is that World War II was one of the biggest and bloodiest wars in history, which took place between the Allied and Axis forces around the world between 1939 and 1945. This war killed more than 70 million people and involved more than 50 countries. At the beginning of the war, the Axis powers, led by Germany, Austria, Italy and Japan, sought to dominate the world. But when America entered the war and cooperated with the Allied forces, the balance of power in the war shifted towards the Allies. The Second World War brought war technology to a higher level, and among the inventions made in this war was the atomic bomb that America dropped on Japan at the end of the war. This war caused the world to be severely affected, and many countries, including Germany and Japan, faced problems after the end of the war. But in the end, World War II caused the world to move towards peace and cooperation between nations, and the United Nations was established to prevent further wars. The second thing, which is also very important, is the atomic bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 2 historical and bitter events in the history of the world, which have always remained in the minds of the people of the world as a symbol of the most terrible historical events. In 1945, at the end of World War II, the United States of America dropped atomic bombs for the first time in history on the city of Hiroshima and then on the city of Nagasaki in Japan. These attacks killed more than 200,000 people and injured more than 150,000 people. The atomic bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki caused the world to witness one of the most terrifying and turbulent historical events. These attacks ended World War II and established the United States as the world's leading power. But at the same time, these attacks caused the world to witness one of the most bitter and turbulent historical events. Thirdly, the Holometer is one of the biggest crimes in the history of mankind, in which more than 6 million Jews and other minorities such as blacks, disabled people and homosexuals were killed. It was a disappearing crime that shook the whole world and is still remembered by many of us. The victims of Holometer were people who were severely oppressed because of their race, religious beliefs, gender, disability and other characteristics that did not consider them as human. They were forcibly evicted from their homes, sent to concentration camps, and eventually brutally murdered. These people were not convicted of any crime, they were only murdered because of their existence as a minority group. Many of Holometer's victims were from families that were completely destroyed, and for many others, this crime remains a bitter and frightening experience in their minds. For many survivors, this harrowing experience has left a deep scar in their mind that can never fully heal. But still, the victims of Holometer will always remain among us as symbols of courage, endurance and humanity. They will be remembered as a symbol of survival and resistance to oppression. These victims will always be in our hearts as a symbol of humanity and trying to survive against anything. The next case, which is the fourth and very shocking and bitter, the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. is one of the historical and bitter events of America, which is still an endless pain and suffering for many people. On April 4, 1968, at the Lorraine Hotel in Memphis, only 39 years old, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated by a racist terrorist. Martin Luther King Jr. was a leader for civil rights and the fight against racial discrimination. With his speeches and nonviolent actions, he was recognized as one of the most prominent civil rights activists in American history. He fought for equality and justice for all Americans, especially African Americans. The assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. not only lost a great figure, but also one of the greatest civil rights leaders in history. This assassination was a big blow not only to the family and friends of Martin Luther King Jr., but also to all Americans. The assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. showed racial discrimination and violence in America. This event, for many people, indicated the need for major changes in American society. This assassination, for many people, is known as a symbol for the fight against racial discrimination and equality. The assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. is still an endless pain for many people. This event represents the bitter history of America, and for many people, it is known as a symbol for the fight against racial discrimination and equality. Finally, the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. is one of the greatest events in American history, which continues to be an endless source of pain for many people. This event showed racial discrimination and violence in American society, and for many people, it is known as a symbol to fight against racial discrimination and equality. And we come to the last case, which is the fifth, and it is also very bitter and shocking, the assassination of John F. Kennedy is one of the historical and bitter events of America, which is still one of the most important and influential events of the 20th century for many people of the world. On Friday, November 22, 1963, in Dallas, Texas, John F. President Kennedy was brutally assassinated while traveling in a motorcade on Dallas Avenue. This incident was a shock and impact not only for the American people, but also for the world. John F. Kennedy was one of the most popular American presidents who attracted many people with his advanced programs for his country. As a modern and progressive leader, he was working for the changes he wanted to make in his country. Assassination of John F. The slowdown caused Americans and the world to be severely affected. This incident caused many people to seek answers to these questions: why did this happen? Why a popular and progressive president like John F. Kennedy was assassinated by an unknown person? The investigation after the assassination revealed that Lee Harvey Oswald, an unemployed and suspicious man, was identified as the prime suspect in the incident. Oswald was in a building near the assassination site with a gun, and it appeared that he was responsible for the assassination. But this research was still not acceptable to many people, and a lot of conspiracy theories were proposed about this incident. Assassination of John F. Kennedy remains one of the most important events in American history, which remains a great mystery to many people. This incident caused many people to seek answers to these questions: why did this happen? Why a popular and progressive president like John F. Kennedy was assassinated by an unknown person? Although several decades have passed since the assassination of John F. It has slowed down, but it is still one of the most important and influential historical events for many people. This incident caused many people to seek answers to these questions: why did this happen? Why a popular and progressive president like John F. Kennedy was assassinated by an unknown person? Finally, the assassination of John F. Kennedy is one of the events that is still one of the most important and influential events of the 20th century for many people in the world. This incident caused many people to seek answers to these questions: why did this happen? Why a popular and progressive president like John F. Kennedy was assassinated by an unknown person?